Hi everyone, Chris here. Time for a long overdue vinyl update of New Zealand releases on vinyl. Up first is something that only the true collectors and vinyl geeks amongst you will understand. It's the kind of thing that you try to explain to your partner why you've got something like this, and they'll think you're bonkers. So this is on in the background. Let me just show you first of all the inner liner notes of this, which are kind of printed onto brown card. These are all individually printed. It's called The Grain of the Sound and the Thing in Your Hand, Stay With Me Baby. You might hear in the background, I'm not sure if you can hear it, a whole lot of kind of clicks and buzzes and noises, the kind of things that typically annoy you when you hear them on a record. And this is a project of this guy, and what is his name? Jeepers, it's gone. But anyway, so what he did was he's done this art project. I'll stick it up on the screen, his name. And it's he recorded all of the silent, or the non-music parts of his record collection. The run-in grooves, the gaps between songs, the run-out grooves, and pressed all of those up and presented them in this art project. That was in 2014, and I was just lucky enough to get a free copy of this actually quite recently. But in 2014 you could go in, you could select your record, your own set of the inner with the notes, and your own cover, which is this here. So this is made of plywood, so each cover is different, but all made of plywood. And on the spine here, they're embossed. So this is number 126 out of 133. JBH, which is the guy's name, or the initials of his name. So as I say, not something you listen to all the time, and not something that a lot of people would understand, but for those mad collectors amongst us, something nice to have. New Zealand art project on vinyl. So yeah, I think I mentioned that all of these are New Zealand releases. So next up, this is actually a collaboration, an international collaboration between a New Zealander, Neil McKay, and Fuxa, which is the name used by Randall Neiman, who's from Detroit. And this is, so Neil McKay's been playing in the English band Loop, and he hooked up with Randall Neiman. They put this together. It's called Apollo Soyuz, and the first track reminds me a little bit of, if you've heard the group Public Broadcasting, who use kind of snippets from old film footage and so on, and newsreel footage put to with music. So the first track reminds me a bit of that. It's called Apollo Soyuz. The rest of it is maybe a little more kind of ambient electro, but yeah, some nice sounds on that. And I ordered that. A track that Neil McKay was advertising it on his Facebook, couple of Facebook groups. So I contacted him, got a couple of nice bonus when it arrived. I wasn't aware that it was going to be on this great blue and black splatter vinyl. So it's a nice bonus. Neil McKay, originally from Gisborne, now living north of Auckland, but has been playing internationally, predominantly around the UK, for a number of years. Okay, up now, 3 singles here from the Littleton 7-inch Club. This was advertised late 2014, and they said there was 2 versions. You could either get the 6-month subscription to get 3 singles, or the 6-month subscription, the 12-month subscription to get 6 singles. And it was a long time coming before anything arrived. So I've got the 6-single 12-month subscription. The first 3 arrived. They arrived, it was a year past the due date, and then they came in quick succession. I got 1, and then a couple of weeks later got the next 2. And it's a real shame actually, though, what's happened with that project. You know, their Facebook page has just kind of been silent for a long time. They don't really respond to emails. Good to see that the records are coming, because they're great records and it's a great project, and I think it was something that, I know they had pressing problems, but I think it's something worth celebrating and making a fuss about. but they haven't. Whether they've kind of lost heart with the whole project, I don't know, because they're just not talking. But anyway, what they did put out first up is the Greyhounds, which is a kind of bluegrass record featuring Marlon Williams. One Marlon Williams original on here, along with two Bill Monroe and one Jimmy Rogers track. And these are all 33 RPM and all on coloured vinyl as well. So like I say, they've done a really nice job of the project, and I'd like to see it a little more publicised and celebrated. The second one up is the Flying Sorcerers, Christchurch indie pop band, and 3 tracks of theirs on here. On almost the same but not quite identical coloured vinyl. And the third of them, they've all got lovely cover artwork as well. And the third of them was the Grand Chancellor's Minibar Blues, put out in, I think, in conjunction with Stink Magnetic. And this is kind of dirty, lo-fi, kind of rockabilly. And that's it might be hard to see, but it's a very, very dark green, the vinyl on that one. So I am hoping that the further 3 of the series will arrive at some point, and you know, and it's nice to see someone doing something new, something interesting on vinyl, trying something out. So I hope they don't lose heart too much. This is a record I learnt of listening to a podcast I'd recommend actually, the Sweetman podcast. Music critic Simon Sweetman from Wellington has started this podcast. He's about 17 episodes in. He does quite long interviews, which I like. You kind of get into depth with people. He's talked to comedians, to musicians, to a chef, all sorts. But yeah, interesting interviews. And he did this interview with this woman, Layla Adu, who I'd never heard of. She's a Wellington musician, singer, a songwriter, musician, and I'd never heard of her. She's put out a number of albums, only one on vinyl, and I learned about her from listening to this podcast. So I picked this one up. It's her 2007 album, Dark Joan, produced by Steve Albini, and it's just her and either Wurlitzer piano or tack piano. So, you know, kind of quite stark. The songs are strong, her vocal presentation is strong, but, you know, it is stark, it's just out there. And a local connection, the cover photos on this were taken by a woman who now lives on Waiheke, Vibeke Bretawa. She just lives 10 minutes along the road, really. So a nice Waiheke Island connection here. Yeah, that's Layla Adu, Dark Joan. I've been enjoying that. New release from the Renderers, Sodium Light. The Sodium Light. The Renderers have been around for a long, long time, and the 2 key players in this band are Brian Crook and his wife Mary Rose Crook. Mary Rose has this amazing kind of country voice. Brian Crook, who's played in bands like Scorched Earth Policy and so on, has got this amazing guitar style where it just feels always on the edge of the abyss, like it's going to fall into complete chaos. It's kind of fed back but controlled, and that kind of counterpoints with her voice. And yeah, a nice strong album from the Renderers, the Sodium Light, and that's out on Bada Bing. I recommend that. Finally, for this clip, this is Wellington duo Into Orbit, the 2014 album Cabins. They've just put it out on vinyl. Done a really nice job of it too. Although I'd say that, like, it's kind of mastered it. It's a bit quiet. The vinyl, you got to turn up crank the volume on this one to get the sound out of it that it deserves. It's just a duo. It's just Paul Stewart on guitars and Ian Moyer on drums, but it has a very kind of full, you know, kind of post-rock instrumental sound, big, brooding, building soundscapes. Yeah, really, really nice release. Again, highly recommend that. So, thanks very much for watching. I'm Chris. This has been my New Zealand vinyl video update. check out facebook.com/countingthebeat for more videos, podcasts of my radio show, photos of what I've been listening to, and so on. Cheers.